The Highland Village is in Iona in Cape Breton. And it is a museum. It's called a living museum. So it's a museum that you experience outside with enactment. So people in costume acting in the roles of people that would have lived in both Scotland and Nova Scotia. So it sort of documents Gaelic settlement, actually the way that they live. And then you kind of walk around the site and you experience how people then changed their way of living. So the idea with the museum is it is both a starting point for that exploration and an end point. So you start at the new museum, you buy your ticket, you go out on the site, you go around, you experience the way that people lived, and then you come back to the museum for a final kind of exhibition. And we like to think of it as like through time. So you're going back in time and then coming round back to the present time. We were tasked with building this new visitor center that would be the starting point and end point of this museum experience. We used the material of steel both for its structural reasons, but also for its more poetic reasons, to do with the idea of time and weathering. Really, when you build in Nova Scotia, it's often considerations about both labor, things that people are good at here, and also materials, local building materials, and then the local environment, like how those building materials weather in a rather tough environment. Like Cape Breton, it gets snow, it gets rain, it gets cold, it gets windy. It pretty much experiences all the ups and downs of weather. So when we think about construction and building materials, we take those into consideration so that the building is both beautiful but also durable, and that the people building it, are really good at their craft. This building is a bit of a hybrid construction. It's both wood and steel, primarily wood for the structure, and then steel more for finishes. Essentially, all the walls and roofs are wood, and then there's steel reinforcing where we needed it. The roof is a metal roof. That was the agway piece. It's a standing seam roof with a custom profile. They did a really amazing job of installing it. I mean, metal roofs are they're kind of embraced here in Nova Scotia for weathering, but also better in kind of wind, hurricanes. So they tend to kind of fare better. And agway has a steel color that looks very much like zinc, and we chose that color just because it has this natural feel to it, not so shiny as some other metal roofs. The idea being that the siding, it's a wood siding, but it'll kind of gray out over time so that the roof and the wall will blend and become one. And then the other critical piece, weathering steel, is used as cladding on the building. And essentially, because it weathers, so it goes from being steel to then sort of rusting out, it plays nicely into this idea of a building that's about time. The client wanted to create a sense of the village so that there are already these existing buildings on the site which create this kind of village. And I think it was the intention that this building would kind of tie into that. So what we've done, though, by mixing the materials, modernizes that form. I think that it both references it, but becomes renewed, I guess you could say. Having client buy-in when you use untraditional materials, when we describe the narrative of this time and this experience, they really kind of got it. So it's really important in our work for they understand the narrative, that these materials aren't random, that they're very much thought out, that not only, as I said, they're durable, but they provide this kind of more poetic value for the project.